We just mentioned the deadline for the federal government to do something about the debt ceiling is fast approaching, but what exactly does that mean for you? Now, the deadline is August 2nd. That's Tuesday. The U.S. has $14.5 trillion of debt. Today, the president said our AAA credit rating is at stake. And that's not all. Joining me now, columnist for the New York Times and Forbes, is Gene Marks. Thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here.
All right, AAA rating at stake. What does that mean? Are people not going to want to invest in the U.S.?
Well, what happens is that if the AAA rating, which is determined by S&P and Moody's, I mean, Lauren, these are the same guys that were giving like high AAA ratings to all those debt securities that ultimately went bad. What happens if they lower those AAA ratings, and that causes a sort of lacking confidence in the market, lacking confidence in the fact that the U.S. is going to pay its bills. But you know what it is? The example is I picture Bill Gates going to the dry cleaners and saying, I'm not going to pay you because I'm having a dispute with my wife, right? I mean, he's got the money to pay it, but because of some internal dispute, he's not paying it. So whether or not these credit bureaus like reduce the credit ratings or not, will that really have a big impact on the world economy? Will people still not want to invest in U.S. securities? I personally don't think so at all.
I read some things that you wrote. How does this help the public out there if there is no debt deal, like small businesses, for example?
Well, I mean, what's going on right now is that if there is no debt deal, there's this catastrophic kind of scenario where people are saying, look, people will lose credibility in the American financial market, so therefore it'll freeze up potential credit. Interest rates could go up. The stock market could fall. There'll be a cutback in government services because the government, they can't issue debt to pay for its bills, so therefore all small businesses that rely on this stuff, they won't get paid, and it'll have a big impact on the economy. Well, that's what the doomsayers are saying right now. That's sort of the catastrophic thing. The chance of that happening, Lauren, is really, really minimal. That probably is not going to happen. For the most part, small business owners, people like myself, we're out there just doing our thing. I don't think it's going to impact whether or not we can borrow money or not. What it does impact is just overall uncertainty in the economy. I mean, right now, just today, GDP numbers were released for next year, and our gross domestic product is only rising 1.3% over the next year, which is really anemic. That's really slow growth.
The one thing I have to say, though, Gene, is the market hasn't panicked yet. We're down, but we're not like 08. So that's a good indicator to folks out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And not only that, Treasury yields are really holding their own as well. So, the people that are in the know that know, they know that this is not any kind of a calamitous situation. It's more like political positioning. So how does this affect you and how does this affect me?
Yeah.
Really, in the end, not a whole lot. It's just going to affect who we may vote for next year.
Exactly, and it's an embarrassment around the world.
It really is.
All right, Gene, thanks so much for coming in.
Lauren, thank you.
All right, coming up.